Good day everyone, Grimmers here, and this is a little DCS editor tutorial. Now in this video I want to quickly go over some options to randomize missions. Now there are already a few good video tutorials out there on the DCS editor, and I will link some extra resources and channels in the description of this video for more information if you need them. But I want to make a video specifically about some randomization options on my channel, because this is simply something that has come up a lot in the comments and the like. Since that is the case, I also won't go over the basics in this video, but I link channels and videos in the description where you can look that up. So, I of course like to make my own missions in DCS. That is something I have always enjoyed doing, and coming up with my own scenarios and my own missions, and see how different vehicles do in it. And building those missions is also handy to show off different planes and modules in DCS and what they can do. But one question that often comes up is, if you build your own mission, isn't it boring playing it? Don't you know where every single unit will be in the mission, when things will happen and so on? And I heard this keeps some from making their own missions. So I figured I'd make a video addressing this topic. Now it is of course bad mission design if you know where everything will be. Not just would that make the mission less interesting for yourself to play, but also if you build it for others. Their replay value would not be very high if they just have to play it once and then know exactly what's going to happen every time. Luckily the DCS editor is pretty good and lets you randomize your mission well, even just using the flag and trigger system of the editor itself, without even going into any kind of scripting or coding. Which you can of course also do, and then you will have even more options, but this video is just about what you can do with the standard triggers and flags. Now explaining how things in an editor work is just quicker and simpler if you do it live in the editor, so this video will not be fancy post commentary, but just live commentary in the editor. Well then, let's fire up the editor and take a look at a few examples on how to randomize missions in DCS. Okay then, let's start off with a little bit of basic unit behavior randomization. Now, this is a co-op mission I'm currently working on, which I hope you'll see soon. And what we have here at the beginning are two tank groups, and they're gonna set up a defensive line here, which the players will have to push through. Now, what I like to do in situations like this is have an option that those defensive lines are retreating if they take too much casualties. Just to make it a little bit more realistic, as I guess if there would be a few tanks sitting here and you just keep killing them from long range with missiles, they wouldn't just sit there forever. So what we have here is those two tank groups move up till here, till waypoint 2, here, and then here they have a hold command, so they will hold there. Then next waypoint 3 is a little bit in front, that is just to make sure that they are oriented in this direction, because the attack is coming from below. And the units will automatically direct in the direction the next waypoint is set, so there is one here. And then it goes back here to where they are supposed to retreat afterwards. Now in order to make them retreat, we've got this hold command here, which is has a stop condition here. You can set a condition, which if the condition is met, then this special task, in this case hold, will be fulfilled. And you have a stop condition to make it stop. In this case, use of flag 1 is on, is true. So if flag 1, and flag is of course one of the main tools of the trade when you do missions, if flag 1 is on, then this condition stops this hold command and they will continue to drive back via the waypoints. Now in order to do that we have the triggers here, and here is a very simple trigger that says here it is type is once, so it will activate once, and if group 1 or group 2, either one of those things, is group less than alive, is less than 50% alive, then the flag 1 will be on. So the hold command here will stop and they will start to retreat back. Now that on its own of course is not very random. As soon as either the first group or the second group takes over half its amount of damage, over 50%, they will start to retreat. So if you set it like that, you know what will happen every time. So let's take a look at how we can make this a little bit more random, that you can't even if you build the mission, you can't really guess what they might do. Now here we have the same thing, but a little bit more advanced. The basics are the same. We have our two groups here, which hold at waypoint number 2 in case of this first group, or 4 of the second. And as soon as flag 1 in the triggers is active, the hold command will go away and the units will start to retreat. But this time we have a little bit of extra stuff here. So as you can see, you're already getting quite a few different trigger types. So one thing that is very useful is to give those triggers names that you can recognize, so you know what they will do, and also to have the flags maybe written down somewhere that you know what they will do, because there can be quite a bit of those. Now, the basics are pretty much the same. So if you look at this, this is more or less the same what we had before. This time it's 60% instead of 50 because it fits better to a 5-unit group. But in any case, we have either group 1 or group 2 is alive less than 60%, and then in this case flag 4 is on. And I have in this case 3 different ones. Just copy them with slightly different numbers. So here we have less than 100% alive for the group. So basically, as soon as one of those two groups take 1 loss, flag 2 will be on. And here at the end we have group alive less than 40%. So if they have already taken quite a bit of damage, then flag 6 will be on. And what we have in addition here is 3 triggers that have the type mission start. So those will go active once at the mission start, and they simply have the condition random, which does exactly what you expect. There's a random chance of this condition to be met or not, depending on how much percentage you set here. So the first one is 10%, so there is a 10% chance of this first random mission start trigger to be true, which will activate in this case flag 3. Then we have second one, which is 50% chance to have flag 5 on or not. And then the third one is a 80% chance to have flag 7 on. Now the reason for that is because here in this case, in order to have our flag 1 active, that will start the retreat of those troops here, we will have 2 flags as condition, which both need to be true. So for this, for our middle one with the 60%, we have flag 4, which activates, and in order to have flag 1 on, you need to have flag 4 and flag 5 on. Flag 5 here is random 50%, so there's a 50% chance that flag 5 is on or not. So as soon as our units here lose more than 60% of their tanks, flag 4 will be on, and if now our 50% chance at the start of the mission is met that the flag 5 is on as well, then the flag 1 will be on, so they will start to retreat. So there's a 50% chance that when this happens they retreat or not. So since we have now 3 different ones, we start with this. As soon as they lose 1 unit, flag 2 is active. And if flag 3 is randomly active as well at the same time, which is a 10%, a very small chance, it's just a 10% chance. But if that is the case, then those units will start to retreat immediately. After they just lose 1 unit, they will immediately start to retreat because those 2 are active. If this is not happening, which is more likely because it's just a 10% chance and you continue to attack them, once they have lost more than 60% of the units, now flag 4 is active, and if flag 5 is true as well, which we had a 50% chance, then they will start to retreat. So now we have a 50% chance if they will retreat or not. And if at the end, if they have less than 40%, so almost one group is almost completely destroyed, is true, now that's a flag 6 plus flag 7, which has an 80% random chance to be active, so there's an 80% chance now that they will retreat. So with all of that together, we have the behavior of this defensive line, whether they retreat or not, relatively well randomized, because now everything can happen. It can happen that you just destroy 1 unit and you have a small chance that they already start to retreat. but it's not a very high chance. And once you start to attack a few more of those, kill a few more, you have a higher chance that they start to retreat. And if one group is almost completely destroyed or completely destroyed, you're starting to have a very high chance that they start to retreat, but not a 100% chance. So it could happen that they either retreat right away, or it could happen that they don't retreat at all, or something in between. So there's very little chance for you to guess what will happen, other than the very logical, the more you kill them, the higher the chance that they will start to retreat, which is, well, logical. But other than that, there's really no, even if you build the mission, there's no way for you to really 100% tell what they will do. And if you wonder why I have those randoms as their own triggers instead of having them, for example, directly in here or something, the reason is that the way the triggers work is that if you have, like here, you have it at once, as long as the conditions are not met, the game will continuously check wherever those conditions are met. So if you have the random right in here and it fails the first time, it will continuously check and it will continuously use those, say, 50% checks until it is true. So you need to have those at the start of the mission so that it only checks once and it only is now a random % chance whether it's on or not. A further advantage of having those random flags at the start of the mission, and you can have more than those, of course. You can have like from 100% to 1% as much as you want, is that you can of course use those same random triggers for a whole lot of things. So you have this 50% trigger, and you know, if you put like a flag 5 as a condition for whatever event you want, you know there is a 50% chance that this will happen or not. So those random triggers at the start of the map, that activate at the start of the map, can be useful for a whole lot of things, and you can use the same ones for a whole lot of different things. For example, you could also now use them for a random chance that those get reinforcements in the same way that you have done here. For example, combining that with those same triggers with the flag 2, which then activate randomly a group that comes in to reinforce them, again depending on how much damage those have taken. So that is one example to randomize group behavior a little bit for AI units. Of course, using this as a template or as an example with some creativity, you can come up with a whole lot of different things you can use this for, and you can randomize behavior of units. For example, also using the waypoint system and the special waypoints, the advanced waypoints options, for example, to set randomly different ROEs. For example, if you set option, you have ROE here, which is rules of engagements, which can be weapon free, which means they will immediately engage anything that is in range, or return fire, which is they will return fire when being shot at but won't start to engage on themselves, or weapon hold. And that way you can of course randomize further what potentially units are going to do with few random options. For example, if they will immediately start to attack, or if they maybe try to lay in ambush and wait for you to attack them first. And the same of course with alarm state, where you can, with green and red, you can further customize how alert units will be. So again, that you can't know that even if you have built the mission. It could be different things depending on what trigger you bind them to. Well, so that's a little bit of basic overview of that. Let's go into some randomization of the unit pathing as well as unit spawning itself. Well, let's look into some options on how to randomize the flight path an air AI unit will take with the switch waypoint option. Now that sadly only works for air units because the ground units simply don't have this switch waypoint action. But what we have here is we have an F-15C which starts from Batumi and then flies up here and lands on this airfield. And what we want is we want to randomize a little bit what flight path the plane will take. That it either goes straight to the airfield or takes a little bit of a detour around here. So the way we will do that is we first of all just add our new route in here. So it goes up here, 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 around here. But of course we also want to have the option for the plane to simply go the straight way. So we will add another waypoint right here. And what we will do now is we just take the second waypoint here, and here in the advanced option we add the switch waypoint action to waypoint 6. So, and in the conditions we put again here user flag. The flag 1 needs to be active in order for this to happen. So now the plane could either go here along this path, and then when it reaches waypoint 5 we again add a switch waypoint condition to waypoint 7, so it lands right there instead of flying back down, or it goes there to waypoint 6 and then from waypoint 6 up straight this way. And the way we switch between the two options is of course again like we did before, simply with a mission start, random 50% flag 1 active. So we have a 50% random chance that flag 1 is going to be active or not active. So a 50% chance that when reaching waypoint 2 the plane will either switch to this waypoint and go straight to the airfield or take a detour around here. And of course you can do some more waypoint variations with different triggers, and that's why it's useful to have a few different random flags like this, like in the first mission we had, because you can use them for all kinds of things, like path variations with switch waypoints like this, or the different retreat chances we had in the first mission. Well, this is one option to randomize the flight path of the plane a little bit. Let's look at the second possible option to do that. Now here we have a second example for a flight path randomization using the switch waypoint system with AI aircraft. Now what we have here is, again, we have our plane, our F-15, starting from here, and we want it in the end to land up here. But we want it to choose the way it takes there randomly, from either going from here to there, or from here to there, or that way, or all the way around this way. So that if we, for example, have a mission where we need to intercept an aircraft, we don't know exactly which way it will take. It will randomly choose one of those. And the way we do that in this case is, again, here at the first waypoint we have switch waypoint actions 3 in this case. So either switch to waypoint 3, then it goes here, and if it reaches waypoint 3 it switches back to 6 to go to there, and the same with the others as well. So it can switch to waypoint 4 from here and then go to 6, or it can switch to waypoint 5 and then it will automatically continue to waypoint 6, or it will just use the normal way to 2 and then from here switch to 6. Now the way we do that with the random choosing is, those here have a condition again and are bound to flags being active. For example, the first one is bound to flag 2 being active, then the second to flag 3, and this one to flag 4. So if flag 4 is active, it will switch automatically to waypoint 5 and then go this way. If flag 2 is active, it will switch to waypoint 3 and then go there, and if none of those flags are active, it will just go here the normal way to waypoint 2 and then switch to waypoint 6 here. And in order to do that, we have in the trigger menu, first we have at mission start again. There's no condition here, so that will automatically always happen at mission start. Flag set random value 1 to 4. So that is, flag 1 will be set to a random value between 1 and 4. So now we have 3 flags here, and if flag 1 is set randomly to a value 1, the flag 2 will be active, which will then lead to the plane going from here to there. Or if it is random value 2, will be flag 3, it will go from there to there. And if it is random value 4, it will go from 5 to 6 up there. And if it is random value 4, it will activate no flag, as there's only 3 of them, and it will use the normal way from 1 to 2 and then switch to this waypoint here. So that is another quick and simple option to randomize the flight path of an aircraft randomly using the waypoint system and the triggers. And of course this random value here can be used for other things as well. Again, if you have with a little bit of creativity, you can adjust this to all kinds of different things. Now, as I've said, this is of course just for AI aircraft, because the switch waypoint option simply doesn't exist for ground units. So let's also take a look at some options to randomize the ground units, both in the path they are taking as well as what ground units spawn in a mission. So let's look into some options to randomize the ground units in their path they're taking, the position they will sit in, and their type. So we're back in our original co-op combined arms mission where we started this video out at, and let's assume we have broken through this defensive line here, and now we are supposed to clear this village behind it. Now, in order to do that, we will have to destroy and find first different units that are in this village. And of course that would not be very interesting if we already know where they all are. So let's see how we can randomize this a bit. Now let's start out with a very simple option. So we have one M1 Abrams tank here. And as you can see, the way that his waypoints are set up, he moves in a zigzag like here. But I have again put some hold commands here, here, and here, which are again connected to our random waypoints, which we set up already. So if you see, condition here is flag 7. We have flags 3, 5, and 7, which are our random flags here. 10% chance for flags 3, 50 for 5, and 80% for 7. So if you have enough time for a unit to travel a little bit at the start of the mission before you get there, this is a very simple way to randomize where this unit will be, because it could be here, here, or here. That's a random chance whether it will stop here or keep moving. And again, those waypoints here are just to so that it points in the correct position. Now, but this is of course still not very random. I mean, you can of course move those further around to have them in a larger area, but still this is just a few different positions where the unit could be, and it is of course always the same unit. But actually we have a little bit more setup here. It's just hidden. So let's unhide the other possible options we have here. So what we actually have here are 6 units, which are all set to late activation, and the idea is that you want only one unit here, or none at all. But those 6 different units are the possible options you have at the moment. So the way I've set them up here is on 3 different positions, and in this case there is 2 of them here on every of those positions, and one of them is a M1 Abrams and the second one is a M2 Bradley. And the way it's set up is that that the game randomly chooses at the start of the mission which one of those 6 units that are here it activates, or none at all. So you have now all those different waypoints here are now options where this unit could be. And it could be a M1 Abrams or a M2 Bradley. And of course the way this works is again simply via the triggers. We have again at the mission start flag set random value. So this is flag 10 in this case, and it randomly sets a value between 1 and 7. And here, depending on which one it takes, it activates one of the 6 units, or if it takes value 7, no unit at all. So now with this relatively quick adjustment, you have already a very random position for this one unit that you want here. It could be at any of those 12 positions, and it could be either a Bradley or a M1 tank, or it could not be there at all. And of course the same principle you can also use if you, for example, want to randomize the way that, say, a convoy takes. You can just copy and paste your convoy as often as you want and give all the options different passes, different ways, and then you just use the same trigger actions to automatically choose to activate one of your options automatically at the start. So you can have a convoy which is automatically choosing to either go this way or that way without you knowing which one it will take. Well then, let's take a look at one more example. This one a little bit more complex than the ones we have taken a look at previously. So let's say in this case we want to have a random SAM thread appear in this area behind those units here. For example, like you would in a Wild Weasel mission or just any random ground attack mission where you want to have a random SAM thread pop up. Now, as with the units here before, we have 4 different groups which are set to late activation, and depending on our triggers, one of them will activate or none. So at the start of the mission we again have set our flag 11 in this case from a value from 1 to 5 randomly. So the first 4 values activate one of those SAM sites, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and if it randomly sets to value 5, no SAM unit will activate. So you have a random chance of a SAM site being either in any of those positions or none being there at all. Now the thing with SAM sites in DCS is, however, that their behavior in their standard mode is not very realistic and quite easy to counter, because the SAM sites will have their long-range search radar and everything online right from the start, and will engage anything as soon as it comes within maximum attack range. Now that is relatively easy to counter because you can see them on your radar warning receiver from a pretty long range, way longer than the range of the SAMs is themselves. And when you fly into their range, they will usually automatically start shooting at you at maximum range. At this maximum range they are not very effective, so they are easy to dodge. So because of this, the SAM sites are relatively easy to take out, especially if you have long-range anti-radiation missiles or other standoff weapons, because you can usually destroy those SAM sites from well outside of their own range, and you know where they are from your radar warning receiver, at least more or less. So in order to make this a little bit more complex, I have added a few other things into here. Okay, so here is an option you can make this a little bit more challenging and a little bit more random. So what I've done here, around those potential spawn sites for the SAM sites, there is a trigger zone, which you can see here. And the way the triggers are set up is as soon as one of the SAM sites spawns within this trigger zone, its AI deactivates. As you can see here, if either one of those 4 SAM sites appear within the trigger zone, the AI turns off. So the radar won't be online for the SAM site, so you can't see it on the radar warning receiver. So now of course you need to have an option to turn those on again. And the way I've done it is, on top of this one large trigger zone, I have 2 more of those large ones, here and here, which cover a relatively large area. And the way the first option to turn the AI for the SAM site on and make it off online, and the threat is here. If a red plane or a red unit enters one of those 3 large trigger zones, flag number 21 in this case turns on. And now I have a second part to this trigger, which the condition is if flag 21, this one, is true, as well as flag 5 is true. And flag 5, as you might remember, is this one with the 50% random chance we have used a few times already. Then the AI of whatever SAM site is here turns on. So as soon as one red unit enters one of those trigger zones, we have a 50% chance that the SAM site that is here, if one is here, activates. So in this case, this plane will already be closer to the threat when it activates, but not too close. But there's only a 50% chance of that. Now, if this fails, I have more trigger zones around every individual SAM site, as you can see here. Now, those are relatively small, and those are guaranteed to activate the SAM site. So, where are they? Down here. So for example, if one plane enters the trigger zone here around SAM site 1, the group AI around the first one, SOC 1, will activate, if it is there, of course. And the same goes for 2, 3, and 4. So if the larger failed to activate the SAM sites, because there's a 50% chance, then the plane continues on, and when it then gets close enough to get into one of those, then the SAM will activate pretty much directly below the plane. So there's very little chance for the plane to react, a so-called pop-up threat, which is a lot more difficult to counter. But because the larger one is on a 50% chance, there's a little bit of a randomness to it. So there's a random chance where those SAM sites will activate, or if they will be there at all. And then there is, when you fly into this area, a random chance that they either activate on a longer range, or they keep the radar off for longer until you are very close. And of course, that is still a relatively simple example. You of course can add more and more trigger zones and more random triggers to make this even more random at what range the SAM units will activate their radar. So you can, even if you build the mission or even if you played it a few times, you can't never be sure if the SAM site is really there until you're very close to it. Because just the fact that you don't get a warning on the radar warning receiver means nothing. It might be that the SAM unit is in any of those places, but it just has the radar on or off till you're closer to it. So those are a few options to randomize a mission. Now there are of course a lot more, and with those examples given here, again with a little bit of creativity, you can adapt them to do a whole lot of things. So you see, with all of those tools, and depending if you have the patience or not, you can very well build your own mission and make it random enough that even if you build it yourself, or even if, say, you give it to a friend and he plays it a few times, you will never be truly able to guess what will happen next. So you still have a challenge. You still have to look for units where exactly they are and so on. Now, those were a few options on how to randomize some things in your missions in the DCS editor. Just something I wanted to go over because it is something that was asked in the comments in the past quite a bit. Well then, and this is it for this video. As always, I hope it was entertaining, thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you next time.